Hello and welcome to our STEM Pathways conversation for Tuesday, February 23rd. My name is Jerry Richard here with the National Math and Science Initiative. And with me today, I have Branden Williams. Branden Williams is the founder and CEO of Seeds to STEM, and that's Seeds to the number two STEM. Mr. Williams holds a Bachelor of Science in Biology and Biological Sciences from the University of Arkansas and Pine Bluff, at Pine Bluff, rather. He worked in laboratory settings before starting work as a high school biology teacher in 2014. He founded Seeds to STEM in 2012, creating hands-on STEM enrichment programs for underserved students in the Dallas-Fort Worth region. I definitely want you to welcome Mr. Williams to our STEM's Pathway conversation. How are you doing today, Brandon? All right. And I'm sorry, I didn't.
I'm doing well, Jerry. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Oh, really great to hear you. All right. So, Brandon, let's get to know a little bit of your STEM story. What was your journey in STEM? What got you motivated and going in STEM?
Well, Jerry, one, thank you for having me on your platform. I really appreciate the National Math and Science Initiative for this opportunity to talk about STEM pathways. My journey was, I think my journey was a typical American, somewhat American journey. I grew up in rural Arkansas, where my mother instilled helped me hone my love for science. I was one of those young men or little boys who always had a dog, cat, fish, gerbil, whatever my mother could bring home for me to just stoke their curiosity in science. Initially, I wanted to become a veterinarian, but I realized that that's not really my ministry. So I, so I eventually went on to again the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, where I majored in. Started off as engineering, but it was one of those pivotal moments when I realized that although I love science, math isn't my friend. So I made the shift to biology, and it just opened my eyes up even more. I landed at the Governor Mike Huckabee's Delta Rivers Nature Center in Pine Bluff, Arkansas, where two gentlemen by the name of Rusty Scarborough and Eric Maynard really they just gave me free reign of the place and helped me like explore every ounce of that nature center. I raised everything from timber rattlesnakes, bald eagles, um, golden eagles, great horned owls, every venomous snake in the tri-state area, alligators, minks, raccoon. Man, they just allow me to be that nerdy little kid. Although I was in college, the nerdy little kid, and from that space, um, I graduated. Of course, I landed at Charles Rivers Laboratories, doing preclinical research, and from there I bounced around all over the place. I landed in Dallas, working at where's that? Oh, Alcon Labs. I
Mhm.
landed at Alcon Labs. Then after that, I found myself in between successes, as I would like to call it, and a friend encouraged me to go teach. And Jerry, most people they're hesitant to teach, but I really developed a passion for sharing STEM or science with students from low income communities. I started off in Stop Six area of Fort Worth, Texas, teaching at a up and coming charter school called Uplift, and that particular Uplift Mighty to be exact, and that charter school taught me how to engage students, how to develop lessons for them in science, in a wide variety of things. And then after that, during that process at that particular school, I started Seats to STEM. I sat on it for a very long time, and I didn't do anything with it. And over the past 3 or 4 years, that's when I really just got into it, and and just started like going around to any place that would hear me talk about STEM and help me allow me to host an activity of some kind.
Let's talk about the activities of Seeds to STEM, how you were impacting the community and how you connected with students at that school or away from different places with Seeds to STEM. I'd love to get into some of those activities.
So so to really what allowed me to start off to get our program going, my church, Concord Dallas, gave us one of our first opportunities to share the power of STEM education in Oak Cliff, Texas. I said that like it's its own city, but in Oak Cliff. Um, and then with that, the activities we did was from anything from dissecting frogs, um, to building edible DNA, just to name a couple. And after that, it was a gentleman by the name of Edward Franklin who allowed me to come to the Voice of Hope Ministries in West Dallas, and he allowed me to have free run of his facilities and doing all kind of outdoor gardening activities. And like digging for bugs with the kids and really allowing them to just explore. So that those are some of the places and activities that we've done in the past that really ignites the fire in a child to show them that STEM is cool, STEM is fun, and STEM is for everyone.
And you build that curiosity, you keep that curiosity going on a
You
lifelong
have
journey.
it's like a fire during a winter during the winter. You got to stoke it. You got to keep it. You got to feed it. So how do we feed that? So at Seats to STEM, academics is a part of what we do, but it's not the core of what we do. Hands-on, manipulative, them building, creating, inventing, discovering. That's the foundation of what we do. Because if a child isn't having fun, the chances are they're not going to continue to do it. So how can we make STEM fun and not school for us? School is about academics, not our programs. Our program is to increase awareness and provide opportunities for exposure, because my grandmother once told me you can't dream about something you never seen before. So how can a student dream about becoming a doctor if they've never seen a doctor,
Mm.
and if they've never seen a doctor that looks like them? How can they dream about being an engineer or a flavorist? The I once told students of a story of how Cheetos was discovered. um, and that gentleman's job was then a flavorist. He sit and created different flavors of Cheetos. That is a whole job. And
Yes,
it blew my mind when I found out about it. So
you know, I'm curious how this past year has impacted a lot of organizations as they're dealing with students and just
mhm.
dealing with everyone. How has COVID-19 impacted making things happen with connecting with students?
It had it made us have to reimagine how we do programming,
Mm.
and um, it impacted us because it completely postponed, not derailed, our programming. So we went. My team and I went back to the drawing board and really start thinking aggressively about how we can deliver programs. Virtual STEM experiences are have already existed, but they're few and far between now here in North Texas. Excuse me. So
Mhm.
you have great organizations that offer them somewhat, but they're not consistent. So our ability to provide quality and consistent virtual STEM programs uh, are the are one of the main ways that we've been able to continue to engage students, and how we've been able to pivot until we're able to go back and provide our in school programming.
I'm also curious too if there were adults, leaders, teachers, other school leadership that even with working with the community partners such as the churches, that there was a light bulb moment for many of them as well in terms of the work you were doing and just how you were able to impact them as well.
Um, I think I think with that particular question, I think we have had significant impact with our community partners,
Mhm.
or as I would like to call it, our ecosystem. Um, One of our greatest partners is an organization by the name of Big Thought. During Throughout the pandemic and before the pandemic, they were instrumental in giving us a hand up and not a handout, allowing us to hone our craft. And everybody from Sergio Garcia and Christina Dove, when she was there, and Byron Sanders over there, they allowed us to make our mistakes and give us constructive criticism. Being a part of their cohorts and being in their programs, um, and having someone like Big Thought walk alongside of you, it has dramatically transformed how we do business. And coming out of the pandemic or going into the pandemic, them reaching out and still providing a way for us to provide program when we didn't have the infrastructure or the platform at the time to do so.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I'm definitely aware of the work that Big Thought is doing in DFW, so that's great to hear. Um, let's look at, you know, we the vaccines are coming around, and thankfully people will get those vaccines.
Definitely.
Let's envision seeds to STEM
Oh,
past the uh, the pandemic, and what visions do you have for seeds to STEM?
oh, Jerry, my vision for seeds to STEM, it's lofty and
Mhm,
it's doable. My vision for seeds to STEM is so huge it scares me sometimes. But my mother tell me if your dream doesn't scare you, it's not worth pursuing, and that means you're going in the right direction. And when with seeds to STEM, we're slated to serve 8 school districts here in the Metroplex.
mhm,
We're in everywhere from we're going to be in everywhere from Dallas ISD, Grapevine, Colleyville ISD, Plano, Carrollton, Wiley, Garland. Um, I'm pretty sure I'm missing some. Turl, Texas, Turl ISD. And with that, it allows us. No, we're providing. I had a brain fart. We're providing in-school field trips and family science nights. They're the cornerstone of our programming that we provide here in North Texas, and it's something that really engages the community at large. Our in-school, I mean, excuse me, our family science nights are meant to increase parent engagement inside of the school districts or inside of a school. So a school is brings us on to provide this program. They have to give us 20 parent volunteers that we train in advance to help execute the activities that we're doing. And it's one of those things that it builds confidence in parents knowing that this is something that I can do, so I should engage my child even more and encourage them even more in the space. One of the biggest pie in the sky dreams I have is being able to increase the awareness around North Texas and around North America. Because when you think about where STEM programming is happening, Jerry, we know it's happening in Dallas somewhat.
yes.
We know it's happening in Houston, Atlanta, the DMV area, Little Rock, Arkansas, but it's not taking place in rural communities. When you think about what make up the transplants in major metropolitan cities, it's transplants from rural communities. So how can we then tap into that rural market and then provide that consistent and quality of programming that they deserve? By doing that, we create a whole generation of students that can come in and fill that and fill the gaps in the workforce that we have. Because how can we train engineers if they don't know they want to be engineers when they're little? A lot of people that we see as engineers and doctors, they don't, maybe not doctors, but some of the engineers that I have as friends, they knew they wanted to be engineers after they got to college. So how can we ignite that fire in them, in the students that live in rural communities right now instead of later?
That's great. That's great, and especially a great point about the rural students. And I think about them as well in terms of the access to, uh, things as far as getting their learning. And it's when we talk about COVID, when we talk about online learning, how are they getting those things? And so the hands-on approach that you're taking to impact rural students is definitely something that I would love to see spread even more
We're
in the
working on
DFW and around.
it. We definitely
Mhm.
we're trying to we look at things through the lens of equity. Sorry, I keep looking off and looking all around. Like when I started thinking, my brain just said start rolling. Looking at access through the lens of equity opens
Mhm.
doors for us to serve all children, not just some. The inequality that kids face in in the STEM education space is vast. What really got me motivated to move, so most of my programming is focused in the southern sector of Dallas, from West Dallas, South Dallas, Oak Cliff, and the Pleasant Grove area and the Cockrell Hill area over here. By focusing on these areas, I knew I was having a great impact. But when you travel around North Texas, what you see is programming happening sporadically, and it's infrequent. So how can we provide consistency across the board? There are more than enough programs around here to provide that consistency. The the biggest issue is awareness. If you, how can you know that this is available in your neighborhood if organizations like Seats to STEM isn't given the platform? Um, and because oh, if we're not given a platform to showcase what we're good at, another a lofty goal of mine is to have the largest display in the Dallas ISD STEM Expo in 2022. That's a lofty goal of mine because when it comes to STEM programming, I know with the community partners that I have, um, not only can we be the largest STEM program provider in that particular venue, but we can spread STEM throughout the Metroplex in such a way that it's invigorating and encouraging and developing minds that didn't know that STEM was even a pathway, and do it consistently, Jerry.
Yes.
That's the beauty behind it. It's like it's the consistency of it. Like, oh man, I can ramble on and on, man, about STEM, man.
No, it's fantastic. And I'm curious about something too, because you did not step into um you were definitely interested in biology, but you then
Yep.
went the route of, a friend had encouraged you to become a teacher. Um, I'm curious that taking that route, did that open your awareness of just how much STEM was really needed in specific communities? I'm curious how that path impacted what Seeds to STEM is now and is going to be.
it it guides everything that we do. It Every program, every decision I make, every decision my team makes, um, it guides it. Because when you're in a community with families with low to moderate income, Jerry, it's it shows what the inequity is and how you can fix it. You because we I see the problem, I have the solution, but what am I going to do about it? Not having the funds or the resources or the capital or the capacity to execute it isn't an excuse. I do more with less than most organizations because I know our kids deserve it. I don't even know if I'm answering your question, Jerry. I was just thinking about that, and when, but it's one of those things where, like, when you're in that space, you see students who look like you, who want just an opportunity. So how can we raise awareness that this is the opportunity for you? For young African American boys who always get in trouble
Mhm,
in their school,
mhm.
but when our teachers simply don't know how to engage them properly, you know, how can we make their STEM experience culturally relevant, so they know that STEM is we are STEM, they are STEM, and STEM exists everywhere. This is the thing that needs to be firmly inserted into our community and provided on a consistent basis so kids can actively dream about where they want to go and not focus on where they are all the time. One of the great things about growing up, I grew up in a small town called Earl, Arkansas. It's about 20 minutes. I say 20 minutes. It's about 30 minutes from Memphis, Tennessee.
Gotcha.
And my grandma, when I used to spend the summers at my grandmother's house in Memphis, my grandmother used to take me to the airport. I may be telling my age, Jerry, about when I say this, but my grandmother used to take me to the airport, and I used to sit and watch planes take off. Jerry, I know you're familiar with this. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Sit and watch planes take off. That sparked a level of creativity in my head that I never had before I experienced that. And I say all of that to say, Jerry, it's about creating experiences
Yes.
with what you have and in places where people look like you. Like I'm charged, I feel God put it on my heart, and I'm charged with this task of sharing STEM education in not just underserved communities, but to all children, and definitely in rural communities. people fail to understand that a rural community is. I office out of the Dallas Entrepreneur Center in Redbird, and a rural community is 5 minutes down the street from me, Jerry. It's like I'm 15 minutes from downtown Dallas, and 5 minutes from me is like a thousands of acres of cows and
Yes,
wheat and sunflower fields and all kind of stuff.
it's true.
So how are we going into these spaces and helping them reimagine the way they think about science or STEM or art and definitely math? So
Yes.
yeah, Jerry, it's a labor of love, but it's one of those. It puts me in the mind of the people that came before us, and my work towards sharing STEM education pays homage to them. Like a gentleman by the name of Dr. Rice out of that was my college professor at UAPB. Like if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have graduated. And the things that he shared with me over the years about responsibility, grit, determination, just the simple concepts within chemistry. He was our general gen chem professor, and he was, I swear, Dr. Rice had to be every bit of like 27, 28 with his PhD teaching us about chemistry.
Yeah.
That access to someone, that's basically a peer mentor. This man had a PhD, one of the youngest people in our professors in our university, teaching us about science. I still talk to him today, and I'm forever grateful about the things he shared with me about just STEM education and that it is possible and you can doable. You can do it. We try to we try to encourage kids with high GPAs to go into STEM. The people who make the greatest impact, Jerry, in the STEM space don't have a high GPA. Like the major tech companies don't even look at your transcript anymore for the most part. If you know how to code, Jerry, you can walk off the street right
Yeah.
into Facebook and Google if you can code like right now.
It's true.
So how can we provide an education to a child, not just a degree? Like
That's it.
that's powerful.
That's
I
it.
told a kid, I was like, if you want us to be a rocket scientist, you can Google that. He was like, no, you can't. I said, you may not have the credentials behind it, but you can definitely Google how to be a rocket scientist and go and you because you can literally go to MIT's website and learn all about it because all of their information is public.
And as you mentioned before, as a child, there was just a spark of a passion. There was a curiosity, and
Mhm.
just the having the curiosity to do, and knowing that's okay, you have that curiosity can get something started. So right now, as you speak, imagine you're speaking to this child who really is just trying to break out of their own box. You know, what are your words of wisdom to get them to become curious about the world and follow their dreams?
If we're sitting in a classroom and I'm talking to a small group of students, I want them to know that their grades don't define them. It's not the end all to be all. Graduating high school is important, but it's just a barrier to entry to live your best life. You're more than capable of doing the thing that you want to do, that you love doing. This young gentleman that was in one of my classes, he called me Mr. B. He's like, Mr. B, all I want to do is chemistry. We're in biology class now. He said, all I want to do is science experiments and chemistry experiments. I said, I don't know how I'm gonna tie this to chemistry, but sir, you are going to do every chemistry experiment I can think of under the sun in this class. It's about creating access. Now, if I wouldn't have extended that olive branch to him, he may have never shown up to. This is an actual example. This child would have never shown up to school again. Who knows? But now we have I call it a partnership. We have a partnership where he finds cool activities or experiments online. I then tie him to the teak, so it's school related. So I tie it to the T, so it's supplemental to what he's learning in the classroom,
Awesome.
and tie it to the lesson. There's so many things you can do to to raise awareness about opportunities and career paths, Jerry, in the STEM space.
Yes.
That's the beauty of it.
And that's definitely what it's all about. Brendan, thank you so very much for spending time today to talk about your STEM journey and about Seeds to STEM. In fact, please let everyone know where they can connect with you on social for Seeds to STEM.
Most definitely, Jerry. Well, people can connect with us at Seeds number two STEM on Facebook and on Instagram. Please go like and share our page. We will really appreciate your support.
Thank you so very much, Brendan. And yes, we love to, looking forward to seeing and hearing more from Seeds to STEM.
Thank you all so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. And for the people that's out there who want to get involved with not just Seats to STEM, but the National Math and Science Initiative and other community organizations, a simple Google search and type in STEM will open up every opportunity to serve in not just in North Texas, but all across the country where you are.
Most definitely. Thank you so much. And thank you for tuning in to today's STEM Pathways conversation. Be sure to tune in Thursday at 11:30 a.m. CST for our next in the series featuring Arthur Mitchell of the STEM Equity Alliance. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.